Nope. You made me mess everything up.
Well, I was here at 8:35.
No.
I was here during the minute of 8:35.
That doesn't count. It never counts. Welcome to QuickTime Event, a gaming and nerd culture podcast brought to you from the heart of it all. I am one of your hosts, Josh, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend, John.
The ever late.
QuickTime Event is a chance for John and I to get together each and every week to talk about all of the nerdy things that we love. If you like what you hear, you can find us live on twitch.tv/CDRMagnus every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or on all of your favorite podcast services all across the internet, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, YouTube, and more shortly after the live show ends. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the holiday season, which means it's awards season. It's also reflection season. It's also prediction season. It is my favorite season. It is December.
It's also the season of capitalism.
So much all good stuff.
Buy so many things.
So much stuff. In the spirit of all of those things, literally all of those things, we will be discussing the Game Awards tonight. The Game Awards are next Thursday, December 10th. We will be co-streaming them right here on the podcast. So if you want to tune in, watch the Game Awards, come join us in chat.
Did we decide if we're gonna be a little rambunctious, a little reckless during that?
I mean, no.
No. We aren't, or we haven't decided.
What does that mean?
Like make a little game, a little drinking game out of it?
No.
Okay.
No. Not on a Thursday. What do I look like? A 22-year-old? I'm 30 years old, sir. I am 30.
I'm not far behind. I'm nipping at your heels, and I guess always will be.
Yeah, so topic of the show tonight.
That's the one thing. You can never catch up on somebody in age.
Until they die.
Yeah, but like, they're still
corpses
older.
Don't
Their
count.
Body is.
Corpses don't
All right.
count.
So you gotta outlive the person. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
We are going to be discussing the Game Awards at length tonight. We will do our predictions for each category. We will also give you predictions for some of the goodies that Geoff Keighley and the Game Awards crew have for us. So look forward to all of that here during this show. But before we get to that, John, it's been a little bit. We did an early podcast last week. So what have you been playing in the meantime?
God, was last week Thanksgiving?
It was. It feels like eons ago.
What the hell?
This has been the longest week of my life.
I think it's because of how heavy all the food is that everything just feels like slow.
The last week was it was ridiculous. So I just started a new job, and the new job's going great. Like, it's not that has nothing to do with the like my warped sense of time perception right now.
Sure.
Thanksgiving happened last Thursday.
As it does every year.
On Black Friday on Friday, both my significant other and I were both convinced that it was Sunday. All Friday, we were like, fuck, we gotta go to work tomorrow. No, tomorrow's Saturday.
Yeah.
All Friday.
It's not even Sunday. We have 2 more days. We have the regular weekend now.
Right, but all day Friday, we were like, what the fuck day is it? What year is it? What is going on?
Yeah, I had a very similar experience, except nobody to like correct me.
Right.
It was just me in my own head talking to my dog.
But then this week, it feels like it's just a continuation of last week. Like it's just one long week that's never going to end. It has been the longest week.
How it is.
And it's not how it is
from like Thanksgiving to Christmas, it feels like.
Yeah, that's true. It's not like anything super stressful is going on in my life right now. It's not like I feel like it's long because it's arduous or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just every day feels like a year, and I don't know why. Yeah.
Every week leading up to this can be compartmentalized into 1 week, but for whatever reason, the last 4 to 5 weeks of the year,
just one.
They cannot. They are a blob. They are the mashed potatoes. Mash them all up. Anyways, what have I been doing? I have been going absolutely insane with playing Age of Calamity. I have put in. So I tried to start it not this past weekend, the Forever weekend, but I tried to start it the weekend before. But as I had mentioned, I was doing some work stuff, so I kept getting pulled away and couldn't really start it. So I basically started playing last Wednesday, and I have put over 40 hours into that game.
That's impressive.
Which, I mean, since we had that really long weekend, it was a lot easier to do. But still, I have just been nonstop playing that game. I beat it, and I had 75% of the completion before I did the last like story mission, and then I unlocked the last slew of things to do. So I am still playing it. I want to get 100%, even with those damn Korok seeds that are still in this game. I do wonder. I think I know, but I do wonder how and if this game will affect the sequel to Breath of the Wild, because things kind of, I mean, they throw in time travel again. So like things are obviously going to play out differently.
It's impossible to say right now, but from everything that I've heard from other people, it's just this is another divergence in the timeline. This is just like another alternate universe that is not impacting the canonical Breath of the Wild playthrough.
And actually, it's funny. They had a load screen during the last mission, or like right before the last mission started, where they were like, due to X event, I'm not going to say what it is because it's kind of spoilery. A new world was born. And I'm just like, okay, so you guys are saying that this is going to be its own thing. Like, you're making a little bud off of the timeline, but then you're stopping it there. Like, we're done. We're not making a fourth or fifth little segue, little stream away there.
That's how I've understood it. Granted, I have not played the game, but that's how what I've heard from other people.
It makes sense. And really the big thing that I was wondering was if they weren't going to confirm that, if they were like, well, I mean, maybe it'll affect the sequel to Breath of the Wild, then that studio had to work really closely with Nintendo, because Nintendo announced the sequel to Breath of the Wild a year and a half ago now.
Yeah. It was at E3.
So, yeah. So, like, if they made this game knowing, like, I guess it would have been very interesting if Breath of the Wild 2 went off this timeline, because that would have just shown that Nintendo actually trusted somebody with their own, like, first party information.
Yeah.
Like, they obviously trusted out enough to license it, but like not enough to tell them what's going to happen in the sequel. That's for sure.
Right. I feel like that's another reason why this is kind of its own little bud. It's like, here, you can go in and do whatever you want. Not whatever you want. I'm sure the Nintendo had all of its tendrils in this all the way through. But they were like, I'm sure they were more okay with this happening, knowing that, like, it wasn't going to impact what they were doing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So yeah, really great game. Absolutely love it. Gonna be in my top 10 games this year for sure. I think it far surpassed Hyrule Warriors, the original, but that's because, and actually, you know what? I meant to bring this up. Do you have any intention of playing this game?
Not even a little bit.
That is a shame, because one of your biggest complaints about Breath of the Wild was that it felt so empty and like there wasn't really much story. If you pair this game with your experience in Breath of the Wild, I think that it'll elevate Breath of the Wild to you. Because you'll get a lot of the backstory that you saw in little screenshot memories in Breath of the Wild, but like you'll get all these relationships and all these characters developing and all this stuff, like all this very heavy story. And then it makes you kind of, at least for me, it made me appreciate and understand why Breath of the Wild felt so empty. And it's obviously because that calamity happened, but like, it was one thing just going into Breath of the Wild, that is, being like, oh, some big catastrophe happened. Okay, whatever. But like seeing it kind of play out, and then just kind of imagining you being that person who was the only one out of your friends who survived, like, it makes a lot more sense why the whole world would just kind of feel empty at that point.
Sure.
So I think it to me, it just elevates, like, both games elevate each other. So
that makes sense. Yeah,
I think you'd like it for the story. I don't think you'd want to spend 40 hours doing a completionist run, though.
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from with, I mean, the game is made as fan service. All of those games are made as fan service. We covered this last time we talked about that genre of game.
It does feel like this one takes it a step further, though.
Sure.
With just a bit more care.
Right. But the reason those games exist is to flush out, in many ways. In a lot of cases, those games are made to flush out, a universe.
Yeah.
And so and this is, I don't want to say this definitively, but like Breath of the Wild, while it had a lot of lore around it and you could go around and find a lot of that stuff, it was empty. And so
it was tucked away. You had to like learn Hylian or Hylian and like translate stuff that you found around the world and be like, oh, this actually does say something. This is a piece of lore.
Sure.
Nobody would ever find this.
Right. And so I would appreciate the game from that perspective.
Yeah.
It's just, I know that I've played Warriors games before. I'm looking forward for Persona 5 Strikers.
Yeah.
But I'm not really looking forward to the gameplay is the thing.
That's okay. That's fair.
And like, I know that I'm going to go in that game. I'm going to enjoy the story just like you enjoy the story of Hyrule Warriors, but it's because you have an attachment to that property. It's not because you're looking forward to playing the game necessarily.
Yeah, it's a good point because like I don't have any intention of buying other Warrior style games.
Right.
Maybe Persona. Is it Scramble or is it what the hell is
Persona?
That game called?
The Japanese version was called Persona 5 Scramble: The Phantom Strikers. I
hate it. Why do they use both S words?
I don't know. The what's it called? The trademark that Atlas filed or Sega filed way back in December of 2019 was for Persona 5 Strikers in the West. So it's not been confirmed either way, but the trademark says Persona 5 Strikers, so that's what I'm going off of.
Okay. I will probably play that, but that is at least 3 months off.
At least.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think the leak said that like February 21st was that's when all the like
there was a recent
retailers
leak.
were.
Yeah, there was.
I forget if it was Korea or what, but somebody.
I think it was Korea.
Somebody posted a early. This is when the English version is like up for pre-order.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not like I'm looking forward to playing that game. This is it. I'm looking forward to playing the game so that I get the story, but that's literally it. Like
you're looking forward to the characters, not the.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Maybe I'm gonna like riding around them on the motorcycle for like 10 minutes, and that's probably going to be it.
Yeah. It's just it was cool because like all these characters you're interacting with, you had at least in Age of Calamity, like you really only saw 2 cutscenes with each one in the original game Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
So like to see these things actually happen.
Do they carry over all the voice actors and like?
I believe so.
Okay.
Honestly, it had been so long since I had played Breath of the Wild, and as I just said, the cutscenes are few and far between. But
nothing was jarring though.
No, it all felt right. So I think it was the way it was supposed to be.
Makes sense.
They didn't, Persona 5 tie. I'm upset about that. The new voice actor is not a bad voice actor.
So John's upset because
I was so used to the old one. Why did they do this?
Atlas West recast Tai Takemi's voice actor for Royal. I've never played the English version, so I don't know. I didn't notice it. But that's not the first time Atlas has done that. They they got a new actress for Chie from Persona 4 to Persona 4 Golden.
I heard that they did that as well.
I can't remember who the first voice actress was, but then Aaron Fitzgerald is GA in Persona 4. But that was another change. So it's not the first time Atlus has done that. I don't know why they would have done that. It's not like, especially, okay, I get why with Chie, because Chie is a main character, and there's a lot of new stuff for the main characters in Persona 4 Golden. Like, there are a lot of new scenes, so it would be weird if just for a few scenes to have a different voice actress. But with Takemi, there's really not that much new content.
It's just a confidant.
Sure, there's, I guess there are like 2 or 3 more dates.
Yeah, but you don't need to do a whole entire recast unless the original voice actor was like, no.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not doing this.
I don't know. Unless did she die? I hope not.
God, I don't know.
Like, I don't know. Whatever. It's not the first time Atlas West has done that. I'm sure it's not the last time Atlas West is going to do that.
Oh, I'm sure too. And yes, she is bae. I have her on my shelf. I'm trying to get her so that I can put her on stream. Look at her. She's perfect.
Look at that.
She was right behind Mona and Joker, the Funko Pops.
I also only played one game over the last week or so, and that game was Yakuza Like a Dragon. I did not think I was going to buy it, and then I just bought it on a whim just because I couldn't find anything else. I wanted to play the Pathless. I talked about the Pathless several times over the last couple of weeks. It's an 8-hour game, and I don't want to pay $40 for it. It doesn't look like a game that I want to pay $40 for. I paid essentially $40 for Miles Morales, and that is, granted, a shorter game too, but it's a AAA, like, I don't know. I'm sure the Pathless is great. It's gotten great reviews. I'm going to play it at some point, but that is a game that is good. I'm waiting for a sale.
Yeah, no, that's fair. God, I forgot that like Black Friday happened.
We'll cover that in a minute
after our last podcast.
Yeah, I'll ask you that in a second. So I've been playing Yakuza. This is the third Yakuza game I've played. I played Yakuza Kiwami about a year and a half ago, and I can't remember what game came out, but something happened where it was Jedi Fallen Order came out. Like right as I had gotten to about the halfway point in Kiwami, and I put Kiwami down planning to go back to it. But then I just played through Jedi Fallen Order and never went back to it. Then earlier this year, I started Yakuza 0, which is the prequel to Yakuza Kiwami. Because I wanted to play the prequel first. I figured I'll go back and play the prequel, and then I'll move on just straight through the series. I started Yakuza 0, and then wouldn't you fucking know it, Fall Guys comes out and just like derails everything that I was doing at the time. It was just Fall Guys. And I put Yakuza 0 down, and I never went back to it. But it's not like I wasn't having a good time with both of those games. I really enjoyed those games. It's just I put them down for one reason or another, and I never went back. So Yakuza Like a Dragon is technically Yakuza 7. However, it's a soft reboot with a brand new protagonist, brand new cast of characters, brand new location. So it's all new stuff. And my the reasoning I had internally was, this is a game that came out at least in the West this year. It's a brand new game. I want to play through it so that I can talk about it for Game of the Year, because I feel like it's probably going to be on that list as well. And then
I've heard good things, so that makes sense.
When I'm done with it, I'll be in a sufficient place where I can now go back and play through the other Yakuza games. So yeah, I've really enjoyed so far. It's a totally different system. The Yakuza up until this point has always been like brawler combat. It's a beat 'em up basically.
Sure.
But this is a turn-based RPG.
Isn't it kind of similar to what was it called? Tiny Tina's Dungeon Quest or whatever DLC?
I never played that DLC.
Is the game set up so that it's almost like you're playing a game within the game?
Sort of. Yeah, so I guess
like in Tiny Tina's thing, you're essentially, all of your characters are Dungeons and Dragons characters. And like she's the dungeon master.
Sure. It's not that on the nose. Basically, the thing with Yakuza as a franchise is that there's a lot of cognitive dissonance that you just have to like suspend your disbelief on. because
I mean, you're playing a video game, so
you're playing a video game one, but it's this crime story, right? Like it's a story about crime and about these really mature adult topics. But
yeah.
over top of that, you have ridiculous things going on, like men dressed up in diapers because they like to pretend they're babies.
I've seen the baby thing, yeah.
And just like all this crazy stuff. There's a summon. Nancy, as CC pointed out in the chat, Nancy-chan. Nancy-chan is a crawfish that I rescued from this homeless man that was going to eat it. Long story there. You can go watch the VOD. It's on Twitch. I streamed it. But I rescued Nancy, and Nancy became a summon. And now I can summon Nancy-chan, and these crawfish fall out of the sky and attack the enemies. It's like, it's all this random shit, and it's hilarious. It's amazing. Yeah, sex toys as weapons.
Basically, this game is Gintama.
Yeah,
the video game.
In a lot of ways, yeah. There's this. I would say the humor is very, very similar to Gintama in a lot of ways. But yeah, it deals with these like really adult, mature.
Just for this, or is that for the whole series?
The whole series. Yeah.
Right. Guess I'm getting all these games.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really great because it's the story itself, the main quest, the main storyline is, again, very mature in its topic, but the main character is a character who went to prison at, I think, 19 or 20 years old. He went to prison to cover for somebody else. He was convicted of a crime he did not commit. And then he went to prison for 18 years. He comes out, he's a 42-year-old man. And one of the things,
spent half his life in jail.
Sure. Yeah. And one of the biggest parts of his childhood was playing Dragon Quest. So like he a lot of like the theme of the game is like he's the hero, he's pretending to be the hero. And like a lot of the terminology he uses describes Dragon Quest stuff.
Sure.
So that's where some of that like battle oriented stuff comes in. It's not like there's a narrator saying like Ichiban did this. It's more just that's like the tone or the direction they wanted to go from a design standpoint. But yeah, the combat is totally different from Yakuza games before. You have a party in this one, so you have 4 characters you're controlling in the battle at any time. You can see a lot of the style that they took from things like Persona. The battle menu looks straight up like the battle menu in Persona with the sacred symbols as buttons. It's like press X to attack, triangle to look at abilities, square to get to items. So you can see where a lot of the influence came from, but it's a totally different experience from the other Yakuza games. Tonally, and there's a lot of thematic things that carry across, but it's a fresh experience. I really like the main character. He comes across as just like this really great guy that's just like had shitty situations his entire life. And something that is really interesting is the way that you are getting a peek into like 2 things. What it's like to be a middle-aged man. Like these characters are all middle-aged and they are going through very middle-aged problems.
All right.
And so like it's interesting because you don't get that ever in video games.
No. It's always either a young person or somebody who you don't even think about their age.
Right.
Like it's a 40-year-old guy, but like you're a samurai.
Sure.
Like it doesn't matter. You're not thinking about that kind of shit.
Right. But these are like middle-aged people in the year 2019. And it's like you can see just like, I don't know, it's a very different perspective, I guess is what I'm getting at.
You can see yourself in like 10 years.
A little bit. Yeah. It's like, it gives you something to think about. But then the other part of this is that the game doesn't shy away from, like hard topics. Like it talks a lot about, and you see a lot of societal issues in this game. Like you look at something that's satirical, like Grand Theft Auto, and sure, Grand Theft Auto puts a lot of like homages or maybe talks tangentially about some political issues that are going on in the United States.
Sure.
But it's always like the satire is so heavy-handed that it's basically memeing on everything.
Yeah.
Yakuza doesn't do that. Yakuza is talking about real issues in Japan. And it's doing it in a way that's meaningful and like it gives you something to think about. So like one of the big things that's going on in the chapters I'm in right now is the idea of prostitution and whether or not it should be illegal. And there's these protests that are happening. And it's just, it gives you both sides of, not really both sides, but it humanizes it in a way that something that's satirical like Grand Theft Auto wouldn't. So it's really interesting to see that kind of stuff too. But it's a ridiculous game. It's a lot of fun. The side stories are in a lot of ways more engaging than the main quest. The main story is great, but like a lot of those side stories is where those ridiculous things start to happen.
I assumed, yeah, that makes sense.
And so yeah, I'm 20 hours in. I'm almost at the end of chapter 5. There are 14 chapters, I think. So I still have quite a ways to go. But yeah, very much enjoying my time with Yakuza 0. Or not Yakuza Like a Dragon so far. But as John alluded to, it was Black Friday. Did you get anything nice?
Wait, before we do that, I want to do one real quick thing.
Okay. I'll allow it.
We have made this Thanksgiving. We had a lot of food talk, and over the last couple of podcasts, we've had a lot of food talk about foods that you and I don't like that most people do. And I got something because it's the season, and I am wondering what your thoughts on it are.
Is it eggnog?
It is eggnog. What is your stance on eggnog?
Indifferent. I think it's fine. It's not something that I'm going to drink. If I am going to drink it, it's going to be a sip. I don't like it that much, but I'm also not like somebody that's like, fuck no eggnog. Janet loves eggnog. So we have eggnog in the house right now.
Sure. And I usually get 1, maybe 2 cartons a year when the season hits. Like I'll get a tiny little baby one that's like, I don't know. It's not even like, it's a really tall container, but it's just like an inch wide. It's like a tube of eggnog. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. Eggnog is available 12 months a year now. You can go to the store in April and buy eggnog. Why is that?
I can't imagine the thought of drinking eggnog on a hot summer day.
You don't want to just drink like really creamy egg milk on a fucking 100-degree August afternoon while watching, I don't know, you being at the pool. Hey, you got your cooler over there? Hey, I'll take a beer and then I'll also have an eggnog, please.
Hey, we're having the family vacation at the beach, going down to Florida. Hey, what do you want to drink? Oh, I got my eggnog. Don't worry.
Gross.
Oh, do you think anybody's had eggnog on the beach in summer?
I'm sure that would have had to have happened at some point. Yes, with billions of people. No.
I don't know. I mean, statistically, yes, but like,
here's what you do. You
realistically,
do it.
God, no.
Next time you go to the beach, you buy some eggnog, you take it to the beach, you snap yourself a picture, you mail it to the Guinness Book of World Records. If they have never seen that before, you become it. You are the first person to have ever drunk eggnog on a beach during a hot summer day.
I think I'd go one step further. I would be that just douche on the beach who like, I would just have a big glass of eggnog and I would walk around to random ass people and like record this. I'd record it and be like, hey, you guys want some nog?
Those big.
It's only 90 degrees out, but how about some nog?
Those really big milkshake soda fountain straws.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that a milkshake? Nah, man. It's better than a milkshake.
This is nog. All right, so indifferent. I am a fan for a very specific period of time during the year.
It's like cranberries. No one eats cranberries in the summer either, unless they're like in a drink or something. I'm talking about like cranberries, the fruit, or cranberries, the jelly. There are just seasonal things that you don't drink. It's like pumpkin spice in April. You don't do that either.
Yeah. It makes sense why these things became a tradition because of like how, food is grown. But like, it is weird that those preconceived notions of when things should happen have continued to stay, even though we're in a world where that doesn't matter anymore. Like strawberries used to be a seasonal thing, I believe.
All
And
fruit
now they're
would have.
yeah, but now they're not. Anyways, sorry to derail. I had to get that out there because I've been thinking about it for a while. Black Friday, what did I buy? I bought one very non-video game related thing. Most people who are listening probably won't care. You might care a tiny bit, but I bought myself a new trumpet.
Okay.
It went on set. I've been eyeing a trumpet for a long time. I don't know if we've ever discussed this, but you and I both played trumpet back in college. And so I'd been eyeing one for a long time, and lo and behold, they put it like 15% off on Black Friday. And I was like, well, I'm not going to get to go and test out any trumpets right now because how you do that is essentially spitting in it. And we're in a pandemic, so that's not happening. So I'm just going to buy it. Why not?
What do you buy?
I bought a Jean-Baptiste, like kind of intermediate horn. Because I'm not willing to drop $2,000 on like a good one. Yeah. But I also didn't something about all the horns that are listed as beginner. I was like, no, I'm not a beginner. Get out of here. I'm not a student.
Listen, I played trumpet.
Give me something in between.
I played trumpet at a semi-professional level, okay?
Yeah, exactly. So give me a semi-professional horn, damn it.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I got that. But on a more nerdy and more topical discussion, I bought Spider-Man, the Ultimate Edition or whatever, that has all that DLC that we discussed
okay.
last podcast.
So not Spider-Man Miles Morales Ultimate Edition. You bought Spider-Man, Marvel's Spider-Man Game of the Year Edition, basically.
The one that was $20.
Okay.
Yes. What was the other PlayStation game I bought? Shit. Oh, I bought the complete with all DLC version of Bloodborne.
Nice.
Since I'd finished all the Souls games, I was like, well, I'm not getting a PlayStation 5 anytime soon, whether I want to or not at this point. So I might as well get this so that I can, want to slam my head against the wall for a little bit more.
I went back to play Bloodborne. It was around Halloween, and it was a lot harder than I remember it being.
Oh, good.
I was trying to play it like Dark Souls, and you can't play it like Dark Souls.
That's
it's the same game.
Yeah, I've heard that Bloodborne is very fast paced. Whereas Dark Souls is slower, where like you're doing a lot more dodging and
there's no blocking
in Dark Souls.
Yeah, there's no blocking in Bloodborne.
I think I'll be fine then because I never really blocked in the first place. I always rolled. I think that's all that I bought, but I'm blanking. I feel like I got something for Switch, but I can't remember, so I'm gonna assume I didn't.
I wasn't gonna buy anything, and then I didn't buy anything actually. At least not because we last podcast we went through the PlayStation's Black Friday sale, and there was just nothing on there that I needed. And then Monday night they put another sale on the store that was like
a better sale.
I think it was end of the year classics, and I went through.
I think it's going until the end of the year.
I think so. It's a really extensive list of games. I wouldn't say it's a better sale than the Black Friday sale because the Black Friday sale had 2020 games on it. This one doesn't really, but it's a lot of older games. And so I bought Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. I bought Dark Souls 3 with all of the DLC. And then I also bought Yakuza 6, which means the only Yakuza game I need to buy now is the Yakuza Remastered Collection, which contains 3, 4, and 5. But that's
Doesn't it go on sale for like pretty cheap?
Yeah,
Pretty
it's
consistently too?
it's a full $60 game, but I've seen it on sale for 50% off before. So
Yeah,
I'm just waiting on a sale. I still have to play Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami, and Yakuza Kiwami 2 before I can even get to 3. So I'm not worried about that.
yeah,
But I wanted to buy 6 because it was like $6. It's like,
sure,
yeah, I'll
sure.
just buy this and have
You'll
it.
get to it eventually, and even if you don't,
Right.
it's $6. That's okay.
Right. So I bought bought Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, and then Yakuza 6. And I'm looking at like the store stuff, and every time there's a store, I go on there and there's nothing I want to buy.
Yeah.
And I've just come to the conclusion that I think I'm caught up. I don't think
Wow.
I have a backlog anymore. Like after I get
Except
through
for Yakuza.
Right. After I get through Yakuza and I complete the Souls games, I think I'm caught up. Like there's nothing else that's like outstanding that I feel like I need to go and play anymore.
What does it feel like? What did
It's weird.
what was that like? Was there a moment of zen when you had that realization?
Well, it's not really a moment of zen because it's actually kind of sad. And it's
Now you have to wait.
right, because it's like this is the reason why I bought Yakuza Like a Dragon, because I didn't know what to play.
Sure.
You know, like there's nothing like I get to replay games now, and I get to just spend a lot more time in live service games like Overwatch. I don't know.
Yeah. Play Persona 5 again.
There
Royal.
will always be stuff that like passes me by, and I'll get to later on. But
Sure. I
like
mean, that's just how things come out, though. Where
Right.
there's big releases at certain times of year, so you just can't physically play them all at once.
right. But as far as like games that are older of the last generation and the last 2 generations, I feel like I'm caught up. There's nothing else for me to really buy at this point, that's the freeing thing. It's like I don't need to spend any more money except for all the new stuff comes out. But that's true. Yakuza, I mean, you're talking about 7 games, especially if I aim to platinum those games. Each Yakuza game is probably a 70 to 100 hour platinum. So, you know, I still have like 1,200 hours left.
You got a couple months
Yeah.
at the very least.
Right. But I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I can't, but like I don't even know at this point what in my backlog I actually truly want to play versus what I got. Like, I think we discussed this at one point, but you and I both, for a while, mostly in college, the games with gold and the PS Plus games that came free, we would just download all of them. And for a while, I was like, no, this is on my backlog. I want to play these games. But now I'm just like, no, I downloaded this because I was a poor college student. I don't want to play this game.
I almost wish I could go in and like relinquish my license to some of that stuff. Like when I go into my game library on my PS5, I don't want to see. I keep going back to Broforce because that's the one that's always at the front of my mind. I don't want to see Broforce on that list anymore. I'm never gonna play Broforce. It's just in there forever now.
Yep.
Like an STD.
It's funny, you'd almost be willing to pay money to get rid of this free
almost,
game.
Yeah. I would pay like 50 cents maybe to get rid of that. Maybe even $1.
99 cents to clear out this garbage game that you got for free. Be like, no, this is a mistake. Please don't make me remember.
Oh boy. So that's what we've been up to. Let's get to the topic of the show because we got a lot to talk about here. It's the Game Awards.
True.
Next Tuesday, again, we will be co-streaming Game Awards. What time do they start? I got the fact here.
I don't know. They just said Thursday, December 10th.
Okay, the show will begin at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. John, you got to be on early. You might be eating
7 or 7:30?
7 p.m. Eastern time.
7 p.m. God, I don't know what I'm gonna need to do. That gives me an hour between work and when that starts.
I mean, it's not. We can eat on the stream if you want to. It's just
No.
like extra. I mean, this time we're not even playing games. We're essentially just watching television. So
It's true, but like, I don't know. That's kind of weird. Maybe I'll like try to make. I don't know. I'll figure that out.
So 7 p.m. we will we're going to start a little bit earlier than that so that we catch the beginning of it. So I'm going to aim to be online at 6:45 at the latest. If John can be on at that time, it's fine. If he's not, well, whenever he gets on, it'll be fine.
Rude.
Anyway, 7 p.m. is when the show starts. We're going to go through all of the categories here. We're going to talk about what we think about the categories and see who's going to win. But before we do that, I thought it might be a good idea to talk about the award process, because this is something we've talked about. We talked about at length last year. In the face of Fire Emblem Three Houses not getting nominated, there was a lot of question on my part about how they selected these awards. And so I thought it would be good to go through and read what they have on the website. I think there's still a little bit of leeway here where they can sort of, pull some strings, but at least they have their methodology written out. So how are the nominees selected for the Game Awards? Nominees for most categories, and that's the part that gets me. Nominees for most categories of the Game Awards are chosen by an international jury of over 95 global media and influencer outlets, selected for their history of critical evaluation of video games. The full list of outlets is available here. Then you can go and look at those outlets. It's people like IGN, like Kotaku, like Polygon, like Kinda Funny, and Rooster Teeth might have a ballot, and Funhouse, and these entities that review games and are games critics. Specialized juries also convene for other categories, including esports and accessibility. Each voting outlet completes a confidential, unranked ballot based on the collective and diverse opinion of its entire editorial staff, listing out its top 5 choices in each category. Ballots are tabulated, and the 5 games that appear on the most ballots are put forth as nominees. In the event of a tie, 6 or more nominees will be announced in a category. Game Awards producer Geoff Keighley is not a member of the jury and does not vote on nominees or winners. Winners are determined by a blended vote between the voting jury of 90% as the voting jury and the public fan voting of 10%. So basically, they have this jury that votes on the game of the year. Their opinion is 90% of the vote. And then the fans that are voting on the website are the other 10%. Then there is also a separate category that is 100% fan voted called Player's Voice, where it's actually going on right now. I think you can still get in right now to nominate your 10 games. So there's 3, so there's 3 rounds to this. There's 5 hours left, 5 hours and 40 minutes left if you want to go on to Player's Choice. You can vote for your top 10 games of the year. And then I believe tomorrow, or maybe what's 5 hours from now, I guess maybe midnight Pacific Standard Time, they will narrow that list of 30 down to a top 10. And then I think there's another round of voting that goes on, and then there's a final round of voting that goes on where fans select their game of the year. Last year, that was Fire Emblem Three Houses. Fire Emblem Three Houses won the Player's Choice Game of the Year last year. It was not nominated in the actual Game of the Year category. So we'll see if something like that happens again this year. I don't know that it's going to, but we'll see, I guess. So that is how they are nominated. That's how they are chosen as winners. I thought that we would first start with the Player's Choice vote. That is the vote that I think is it's definitely got the largest margin of error because there are 30 games to choose from.
Yeah.
I guess I'll read out all the games for Player's Choice because again there are 30 of them. And then
where even are they?
Are you on the website?
Yeah.
So in the top bar there's nominees, and then right next to nominees is Player's Voice.
Yeah, I see that now. Gotcha.
So Player's Voice. Here are the games that are nominated for Player's Voice. We have Ori and the Will of the Wisps, The Last of Us Part 2, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ghost of Tsushima, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Hades, Doom Eternal, Fortnite, Among Us, Valorant, League of Legends, Half-Life Alyx, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Genshin Impact, Minecraft Dungeons, Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, Phasmophobia, Star Wars Squadrons, Persona 5 Royal, Bugsnax, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Demon Souls, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, Free Fire, and 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. So, that is a list of 30 games to choose from.
God, that's so many.
John, what do
So
you...
many good games too.
Sure. What do you think is going to win? The player's voice vote. If you look down at the bottom, if you scroll past all the games, you'll actually see the current results. They're keeping live results for this, at least for the round of... I think that for the first and second round, they're going to keep those results up. And then for the third round, they'll hold those back and announce that the winner of the show. But as of right now, the top 10 are Ghost of Tsushima, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, Hades, The Last of Us Part 2, Among Us, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and Demon Souls are the top 10. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're back. Sorry for the audio podcast listeners. We are having some technical issues on the live stream. What else is new? But we're back now. What the hell were we talking about? We were talking about...
A little derailed. We were talking about the viewer's choice or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if my guess had made it to the audio podcast, but in case it didn't, I'm going with Animal Crossing's New Horizon.
I think that is a solid pick. You can't really go by what's on the round 1 list right now. At least not the ranking order. I think it's pretty safe to say the top 10 games that are on there right now will be in the second round. So it looks like the cutoff right now is between Demon Souls and Persona 5 at 5% and 4% of the audience vote, respectively. So I think everything above that Persona 5 Royal line is probably in pretty it safe at this point. I mean, there's only five hours of voting left. So of that list of 10, I think it's pretty safe. But once we get into those later rounds, all of the people that picked all of those other games no longer get to pick those games. So they have to put their vote in
other things.
Sure. So,
which is why I'm going Animal Crossing, because it seems to be the most universal.
I think that makes sense. I think I'm going to take the easy way out here and agree with Ghost of Tsushima being at the top. This is a game that I feel like it's one of those games that critically it did okay. It did good. It was like 8s, I think, was what it landed on. Maybe it was like low 80s, I think, on Metacritic.
Sure.
But when I look at especially Reddit, and I know that Reddit can be an echo chamber, but in the Reddit threads for Ghost of Tsushima, it's one of those things where the audience really latched onto it in a way that critics didn't. Because it didn't do anything, dynamically different from other games in the genre. It just it kind of perfected that open world Ubisoft style collectathon open world game. And it took every kind of aspect of that, every aspect of open world games from the last 10 years or so, and perfected a lot of that. And I think that audiences really enjoyed that. More so than they did some of these other games that are at the top. So I think I'm going to go with Ghost of Tsushima for that. But I definitely can see Animal Crossing as well, especially when you look at some of these other games, like all the people that voted for Age of Calamity, I'm guarantee you if they've played that game, they've probably played Animal Crossing at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that going either way. There's a lot of options there. But okay, let me put these in our little tracking document.
For me, another big reason why I'm going with Animal Crossing is because two things. One, it kept a lot of people sane during a global pandemic. And two, as we've discussed many, many times, a lot of households have a Xbox or PlayStation 5, but regardless, or an Xbox or a PlayStation 4, but they have a Switch as well, or whatever the Nintendo console is. Because you kind of decide between the PlayStation and the Xbox and the PC even. But the Nintendo is kind of the oddball out where just everybody has one because of all the exclusive titles. So. We dropping frames again?
Fucking fun. No, it's not frames this time. Hang on one second here. I need to do this. Did that fix it? It did not. Let me try. Can I deactivate it?
Oh, what has happened? What happened to you?
It's called my webcam got activated in more than one frame. And it's never a good thing when that happens. Can you please open the source so I can disable it? And maybe that fixes the issue, because this does not look great. Deactivate?
This is like having a crisis.
Activate. There we go.
You were just an anime character who was having an internal crisis.
That was something special, wasn't it?
There were small U's all over the screen.
That was something. Okay. Let's not do that again, please. Okay, moving on to the actual categories of Game of the Year. We're going to start at the bottom of the list, work our way up to Game of the Year. Let's start with Best Esports. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask if we were doing the esports things too.
Yes, we are. Although we have no insight, very little insight into this. So
True.
we got, starting with Best Esports Team. And I thought this was a nice little touch they gave us this year with Game of the Year's Game Awards categories. They actually explained what the category means, which in some of the later categories we'll get to, for like the difference between action and action adventure.
Yeah.
There's some wording and verbiage here to kind of explain that. So Best Esports Team, recognizing a specific esports team, not the full organization, judged the most outstanding for performance and conduct in 2020. The nominees for 2020 are Damwon Gaming for League of Legends, Dallas Empire in Call of Duty, G2 Esports in League of Legends, San Francisco Shock for Overwatch League, and Team Secret for Dota 2. This is an easy one for me, and I'm not picking it because this is the esports game that I play, but San Francisco Shock are the first two-time Overwatch League champions. They won last year and won again this year. Back-to-back champions. I think that wins them the award.
I am also going with the San Francisco Shock, mostly because they're the only ones that I've actually heard of.
Not a bad reason to go.
Yeah. I figured if I've heard of them, as someone who is not very active in that kind of community, then they probably deserve an award. Yeah.
I mean, they're back-to-back champions. They beat I can't remember. I didn't pay attention to Overwatch League this season. But last year they defeated Vancouver Titans in the finals, and this year they defeated someone else to be back-to-back. So I think that's worthy of
someone else. Good job.
I think that it was it was one of the Chinese teams, I think.
Okay.
It was either Shanghai or the other one. I forget what the teams are in the East. But yeah. Moving on to Best Esports Host. The best host or commentator of esports events, both in venue and or broadcast in 2020, irrespective of game or language. Alex Goldenboy Mendez, Alex Machine Richardson, FG Jacques Deporter, James Dash Peterson, and Jorian Sheever Vander Heijen. That is a name. Jorian, even take out her tag, it's Jorian Vander Heijen. What a name.
It's a lot.
I'm going purely off of looks here. If you go to the Game Awards website, you can look at what these people look like. Purely off of looks, I'm going to go with James Dash Peterson, just because he looks like he would be on SportsCenter with what he's wearing in that picture.
It's very true. I'll go with FG Shocks, however you say her last name.
I don't know.
Deporter.
She's been nominated for several years now. I remember that name from last year.
I think that's why I'm picking it, because the Shocks is the only thing that I remember.
Well, she
deserves it.
Sure. We're going to go through these first couple of categories very quickly, in case you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Next up is Best Esports Game. For the game that has delivered the best overall esports experience to players, inclusive of tournaments, community support, and content updates, irrespective of genre or platform. You know what game should not be on this list, and I'm glad is not on this list, is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nintendo. The games that are on this list are Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Fortnite, League of Legends, and Valorant. What you got, John?
My gut instinct is Fortnite. It's just out of all those games, it's always Fortnite.
I could see it. I don't know that they had, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know how much they really had this year in terms of esports content, because I know that they were really active, especially around convention times. I know they usually had like a Twitch Rivals tournament type deal, usually at like the PAXs and the E3s. But with this year having none of that be a thing, I don't think they really had those tournaments. I'm sure they had something, but like I didn't hear about very much of this. So I think that I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with League of Legends, just because I feel like League is always relevant.
That's fair.
Because AOC plays League of Legends.
I mean, that's valid. It's true.
But I really have no real insight into this other than name recognition, basically.
Oh, yeah. I mean, neither do I.
Next up is Best Esports Event, recognizing an event that delivered a best-of-class experience for participants and the broadcast audience. The nominees are Blast Premier, Blast Premier Spring 2020 European Finals, Call of Duty League Championship 2020, IEM Katowice 2020, League of Legends World Championship 2020, and Overwatch League Grand Finals 2020.
Based on what you said about San Francisco Shock, I'm going with Overwatch League Grand Finals. I've got to imagine that it was pretty hyped up for a repeat champion.
True. It was definitely more contested this year, that's for sure. Once again, I don't know. I mean, Call of Duty League is that's Call of Duty's official league. I really feel like Overwatch was the Overwatch League this year was so on the back burner. They made some changes that I hope they revert this year. They have, or at least they had an exclusive deal with YouTube this year. In prior years, Overwatch League used to be on Twitch, and it was on YouTube this year, and that created a lot of issues for. I mean, basically, the entire audience had to move, and like that wasn't something that I think a lot of people did. So Overwatch League, I think, had a very down year. I'm going to go with League of Legends again, just because I feel like that's always a safe bet. But again, I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I am more than fine getting all of these wrong because I know nothing about the esports community and current situation.
All a shot in the dark. Next up is Best Esports Coach. The esports coach judged to be the most outstanding for performance and conduct in 2020. I'm glad that they put that little phrase in there for a lot of these.
Yeah.
The most outstanding for performance and conduct. So they're not putting people in here that are toxic. I appreciate that, Geoff Keighley in the Game Awards. This year for Esports Coach, we have Danny Zonic Sorensen for Counter-Strike Global Offensive. We have Daihe Krusty Park for Overwatch League. We have Fabian Grabs Lohman for League of Legends. Lee Zepha Jai-min for League of Legends. And Raymond Rambo Lucier for Call of Duty.
I'm so torn between picking the guy whose nickname is Krusty versus the guy whose nickname is Grabs. That's what it's down to for me. Let's go with Krusty.
Krusty, all right.
Let's give Krusty a chance.
John's going Krusty. Sorry, 1 second. I fucked up what I was doing on the show doc. There we go. I am going to go with the person that I think looks most like a coach. That's it. Based on appearance only, who looks like
Sure.
they're actually a coach. And to me, that is Lee Zepha Jaimin for League of Legends.
See, I thought you were going to go with Sonic. Because he has not one, but 2 headsets on.
I didn't notice that until just now. That's amazing. Why the fuck does he have 2 headsets on?
I don't know.
That's incredible. Okay. No, you're right. That is... He looks like, I don't know, like a football coach that's like drunk and he like stumbled off the bus and like that's him on the sideline.
100%. He has one of those headsets is exclusively for throwing in anger.
Yeah, that's true. He's got the Nick Saban / Jim Harbaugh, Bill Belichick headset that it's not plugged into anything. It's just on his neck for when he needs to chuck something across the field.
It's a ceremonial piece.
Sure. Last esports category is Best Esports Athlete. We have Ian Crimsix Porter for Call of Duty, Heo Showmaker Sue for League of Legends, Kim Canyon Giobun for League of Legends, Anthony Shotzi Cuevas Castro for Call of Duty, and Matthew Zhu Herbout for Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
I am between I'm just going to refer to them by their nicknames. I'm between Showmaker and Canyon because they are both on the same team, which means their team probably did pretty well.
I would assume so. Well, are they? Yeah, they are. You're right.
Let's go Showmaker.
Showmaker.
That's who I'm going to go with.
I'm going to go with Showmaker too because he's got the best handle. Showmaker is such a great name.
Yeah.
For an esports athlete.
Yeah, all the rest of them, Crimsix, I don't like the name specifically.
Crimsix sounds like some sort of
Z, not a fan of, and Zywoo? I don't even know how to say that. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Canyon is not inspiring either.
No. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Showmaker too for the same reason. Showmaker is the best name there.
There we go.
All right, now we can get into some discussion that's actual discussion and not just shots in the dark. For best debut game. For the best debut game created by a new independent studio. So, a new indie game from a new indie game studio. The nominees are Carrion, Mortal Shell, or I guess I should say the studio. Carrion from Phobia Game Studio / Devolver Digital. Mortal Shell from Cold Symmetry / Playstack. Raji and Ancient Epic from Notting Head Games. Roki Polygon Treehouse, or Roki from Polygon Treehouse, and Phasmophobia from Kinetic Games.
My gut instinct, personally, and it might just be because I know people who actually played it, but I'm going to go with Phasmophobia because that is the game that I personally know the most people have played.
I'm going Phasmophobia as well. I know also Mortal Shell was pretty popular when that came out a while ago, but Phasmophobia is something that has taken over Twitch a bit. That is a game that a lot of people are streaming right now, and I think that it's in sort of the forefront of people's minds. Mortal Shell, I understand was pretty good from the people that played it, but I think that game suffers from it being basically a clone of Dark Souls. Like, it's very much just Dark Souls, whereas Phasmophobia I think is new and it is a different experience, and again it's sort of in the front of people's minds, especially because like I think it gained a lot of popularity because of October and like the spookiness of it.
Yeah, spooky.
And sure. it just came out at the right time and sort of in the zeitgeist at the right time.
Yeah.
So we both have Phasmophobia there. Next up is Content Creator of the Year. For a streamer or content creator who has made an important and positive impact on the community in 2020. The nominees are Alana Pierce, J. Ann Lopez, Nick Merckx, Tim the Tatman, and Valkyrie.
What are you thinking?
I am going to go, for me, so the only two people I'm really familiar with are Alana and Tim.
Sure.
I think I'm going to give it to Tim.
That is what I'm doing as well.
I think Alana, I can see Alana earning it though. You know what? Man, am I going to change it?
I mean, I'm going with Tim just because of basically all the like back and forth from the Fall Guys account. that alone kind of earns it to me.
Tim has had a great year. He sort of came out of nowhere. He's a streamer that like he got picked up and made it big pretty quickly. And a lot of his content is right now like a lot of Call of Duty stuff. And he's like a really positive guy. I've hung out in his stream a few times, and he's a pretty good guy. And I know that he's probably the most popular on this list, I think, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm kind of thinking though is how the Game Awards looks at their.
You're trying to see the code.
I'm trying to look at the code. Yeah, I'm trying to see through the matrix, and I think that Alana is more apt to be on a lot of those categories, like a lot of those voting members that are in this. And I don't know if this was one of the categories that was voted on by Outlet, but like she's part of Rooster, or she was a part of Rooster Teeth. She was a part of Funhouse. She was on Kind of Funny Content. She was at IGN for a long time. She's been in the games industry. She does a lot of like hosting stuff right now. Like she is literally the like, if I don't want to say that like there's a level of influencer or whatever, but like if streamers are TV actors, Alana is like a Hollywood actress, if that makes sense.
Sure. She's on the next step.
Sure. And I think that just the way the votes are working, I think that she'll take it. Especially, I don't know if for those of you that haven't followed Alana, she actually just left Funhouse and Rooster Teeth to take a job as a writer at Sony Santa Monica, presumably working on the next God of War game. So now she is a part of the games industry. Like she is in a development role now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that might play a role in it too. I'm going to go with Alana. Even though I think that Tim is probably the more popular person right now.
Odds are one of us has got it right.
Yeah. Next category is Best Multiplayer.
Starts to get a little harder.
Yes, for outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre or platform. Oh shoot, there was something else I wanted to look at before we did this category. Let me go back to the FAQ real quick.
Okie doke.
I don't know that it's in here, but I want to see what their rules are for games. Like what
do you mean?
What is the cutoff date for games to be eligible this year? Games eligible for the Game Awards this year must be available for public consumption on or before November 20th, 2020. Titles that are released after this date will be eligible for the Game Awards ceremony in 2021. Similarly, games that were released in December of 2019 are first eligible for this year's award. So there's nothing in the rules that says an older game can't be on the list. And I guess that makes sense for games like Fortnite and Destiny and some of these games that are on here for a couple categories.
Yeah.
That are old at this point. I'm just curious specifically because of Among Us. Yeah. And it being it's either a 2018 or a 2019 game, I think. I can't remember how old it actually is, but it's not a 2020 game, but it's on this list.
For sure.
So for Best Multiplayer, we have Animal Crossing New Horizons from Nintendo. We have Among Us from Inner Sloth, Call of Duty Warzone from Infinity Ward, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout from Mediatonic, and Valorant from Riot Games.
Oh boy. I'm stuck between two. The two that I'm stuck between are Among Us and Fall Guys. Because both of those games exist they are multiplayer games. I would definitely not count Animal Crossing because you have to rely on Nintendo's online servers for that. So that's not happening. And I don't know, COD is always there. And I really don't know that much about Valorant. But Among Us and Fall Guys kind of took over at different times of year, but they definitely took over the multiplayer scene for different amounts of time this year.
Yeah. And in the same way too. Like they're both games that gained, I think, a lot of popularity because people were playing them specifically on Twitch.
Yeah, for sure. Man, it's so hard to pick between them. I think I'm gonna give the edge to Fall Guys here, though. And I'll explain why when we get to a later category.
Okay.
What are you thinking?
I'm between the same two, too. I'm between Among Us and Fall Guys. It's another one of those dichotomies where it's like, if I was picking who I think should win this category, I think I would choose... Man, I don't know. I said that and now I don't think it's true. Personally, I like Fall Guys more than Among Us.
Sure.
I've spent more time in Fall Guys. I understand the appeal of Among Us, and I played enough of Among Us at this point to understand, why it's so popular.
Yeah.
I think that Fall Guys also falls into that, pardon my pun, falls into that category of games that the jury is going to be more receptive to.
Yeah.
Even though Fall Guys is more popular, even though Among Us is more popular, and like it's been around for longer at this point, not just because it came out in a previous year, but because like Fall Guys kind of, again, pardon my pun, fell off a cliff with popularity. Once season 1 ended, season 2 started, and then people don't really play Fall Guys anymore. But Among Us has been around now for several months, and it doesn't look like it's really going anywhere anytime soon.
So then which one are you going with?
I'm still going to go with Fall Guys because I think that Among Us has a barrier to entry. As stupid as the barrier is, a lot of those mainstream critics that are on this jury either don't play PC games, they aren't appreciative of PC games, or they don't appreciate mobile games and haven't even given it a chance.
Yeah.
It's like it's hard to ignore Among Us because it's a game that is in such it's such a part of the zeitgeist right now to the point where it was basically a campaign tool in American politics this year. Like this is a game that is important to society right now. But in terms of people who have actually played it, a lot of the gaming personalities that I follow who are the people that are on this jury never ended up playing it. So I'm going to go with Fall Guys as well.
All right.
And that's kind of where I was having that trouble because I think that maybe if I was picking it now, even though I like Fall Guys more, I might give the edge to Among Us because of just how pervasive it is, but I don't know. I don't have to make that decision right now for me because our Game of the Year discussion isn't for another month. But for the Game Awards, I'm picking Fall Guys. Next up is Best Sports/Racing Game for the best traditional and non-traditional sports and racing game. The nominees are Dirt 5 from Codemasters, F1 2020 from Codemasters. Codemasters is one of those developers that make good games, but they're games that I will never play.
Yeah. AKA racing games.
FIFA 21 from EA Vancouver, NBA 2K21 from Visual Concepts, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 from Vicarious Visions.
I don't know if this is me willing this to happen, but I want Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 to win.
That's the one I'm going with.
It was so fun back in the day. And to see them be able to remaster and re-release it was such a positive moment for this dark year. These other games, they come out consistently all the time. But this was like the first time where I was like, man, maybe I'll get this skateboard game.
Yeah,
I haven't yet, but like I really did consider it on Black Friday, and then I bought like 3 other games, and I was like, I just don't have the time right now.
Right. I think it's going to be Tony Hawk's for real, because it's the first Tony Hawk game, I think, since some of those original games that actually lived up to fans' expectations.
Yeah.
A lot of the more recent Tony Hawk games just have not been good, or the fans have not liked them. So for this one to come out and do so well, and to have it pitted against these annual titles that release year after year after year, I think that it just stands out. And the other thing is, at least with FIFA 21 and NBA 2K21, those are controversial games this year. Because EA and 2K have been just shit with how they're peddling these microtransactions. True. With FIFA in particular, the FIFA edition, the FIFA game that came out on Switch, I think they straight up just said it's the exact same game as last year, just with different names. Like, we didn't do anything to it. It's FIFA 2020 with a different roster. And they're still selling it as a full title.
That's not what you should say.
That's scummy.
Yeah, a little bit.
And 2K's had issues with microtransactions for several years now, with this game in particular. I think is it the Ultimate roster, or that's FIFA's the Ultimate roster? 2K, NBA 2K has a similar thing where it's like the story mode that you kind of pay into, and it's so just like they're hunting for whales, basically. They're hunting for those microtransaction whales.
Fair. I hope that Mr. Hawk himself makes an appearance.
I wouldn't put it past Geoff to invite him. I could see that happening. Next up is Best Sim/Strategy Game. Best game focused on real-time or turn-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. The nominees are Crusader Kings 3, Desperados 3, Gears Tactics, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and XCOM Chimera Squad. For me, it's between two. It's between Crusader Kings 3 and Microsoft Flight Simulator, but even between those two, I still think that Microsoft Flight Simulator runs away with it.
I was going to go with the same thing. A game that I will likely never play and never truly understand, but it has such a cult following.
Yeah. I know that
the Academy or whatever these people are who vote on this, I think they have to give it to Flight Simulator for their own safety.
That's probably true. Yeah. They don't want any bomb scares or like people showing up on that doorstep at the middle of the night or anything like that. I know that Crusader Kings 3 reviewed very well, and the PC players that play that and like that series, that is a game that I think, at least for PC gamers, is it's at the top of their game of the year list in several cases. But with Microsoft Flight Simulator being up against it, I think that game is just too popular.
Yeah.
I would argue that those two games shouldn't be in the same category. I understand why they are, but
it did seem kind of weird that they were in the same category. That's for sure.
The other thing is, like, where do you put Microsoft Flight Simulator, though? Like, I guess it's a game, but is it really a game?
No, it's a simulator.
So we both got Flight Sim for that one. Next up is Best Family Game. Nominees are Animal Crossing New Horizons, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, Mario Kart Live, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, Minecraft Dungeons, and Paper Mario The Origami King. For me, this one's easy. It's Animal Crossing.
I think I'm going to go with Animal Crossing too. It was between Animal Crossing and Fall Guys, but I think Fall Guys is going to win enough other categories that they'll want to like spread the love.
I don't think that I don't know, the last several game awards, I don't think that they really, I've got the sense that they don't really do that. Like there have been years where there have just been games that have run the table. Last year was just sort of a grab bag because nothing was overtly successful across the board.
Sure.
I just think that Animal Crossing New Horizons is such like you said when we talked about it in one of the previous categories, it's such a game that is defined this year for so many people.
That's true. Being in a lockdown with the whole pandemic.
Yeah. So that's why that gets my vote. I mean, even if Fall Guys doesn't win at any other category, I think it's still Animal Crossing.
Fair. I'm also sticking with Animal Crossing.
Next up is Best Fighting Game. We have Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, Street Fighter V Champion Edition, One Punch Man, A Hero Nobody Knows, and Under Night In Birth EXE, Late, in parentheses, CLR.
You love to see it.
Arc System Works is like the king of just convoluted titles for games.
And what's it going to be, though?
I honestly have no idea. Did all of these games come out this year? I don't know. I mean, Mortal Kombat 11 and Street Fighter V are the most mainstream of those games. I know that Grand Blue Fantasy is popular. I don't remember that there were like good things said about the One Punch Man game. I know that they like explained away his invincibility somehow, and that's the only thing I know about that game.
Just because they did that, I'm not voting for it. That defeats the point. That's why the series exists. And
then this Under Night in Birth EXE Lite CLR game, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, get that out of here.
So for me, it's between Mortal Kombat 11 and Street Fighter V, I guess.
Yeah, that would be the same for me.
And I'm going to give it to Mortal Kombat.
Damn it, I was going to do that too.
Why are we just saying the same things?
I don't know.
Is it because this year's like too easy? Like
we say that, and yet we'll both be wrong on all of them now.
Yeah, probably.
But we'll be wrong together.
Right now, the only things that we're set apart on really are like the personalities, basically.
The ones that we kind of just did shots in the dark.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to be the same on the next title too. I can pretty much guarantee it.
Next up is Best Role-Playing Game. We got Final Fantasy VII Remake, Genshin Impact, Persona 5 Royal, Wasteland 3, and Yakuza Like a Dragon.
It's got to go to Persona, right?
That's what I'm putting down.
Did Persona 5 win many awards last year? Or whenever, was it last year or was it 2 years ago?
It came out it was 20.
Did it win any? Was it even at the Game Awards?
I think it was in this category. It wasn't in Game of the Year, I don't think.
Okay.
When did that game come out? It was like 2017, maybe? I think because it was the year. Was that really in the same year as like Legend of Zelda and Horizon?
I don't know. Was it?
Persona 5 came out in Japan in 2016. Oh no,
regardless, 2017 it won role-playing game.
Okay.
From the Game Awards. I'm still going with Royal. I feel like Genshin Impact has kind of a split audience with a bunch of people liking it, but a bunch of people just saying it's a Zelda clone and being mad about it. Don't really know much about Wasteland 3. And Final Fantasy VII Remake, isn't that going to be out for like the next 3 years? Just with how they're like releasing it in parts.
Well, it's going to be different games. It's not like they're going to be DLCs. It's going to be separate games.
So it could still win in the future. It'll just be Final Fantasy VII Part 2 or whatever.
This is the problem I'm having. So all 5 of these games have reviewed very well.
Yeah.
I'm having the same issue because I've started to work on my Game of the Year list, and I'm having the same issue with Persona 5 Royal, where I'm trying not to be blinded by my own love of Persona 5 Royal and Persona 5 and Persona games.
Yeah, you want
and trying to look at it objectively. And I guess where I'm at with it is that I love Persona 5 Royal. It is the definitive edition of Persona 5, without a doubt. I just don't know that there's enough there to warrant an entirely new release. And I'm kind of tired of Atlus getting away with that.
Just wait till they win this award.
It made sense for Persona 4 Golden because you released it on a new system. It was on the PS2 and you released it on the Vita. It makes sense to remake that game or remaster that game and add new stuff to it. Like, that made sense. Persona 5 Royal came out on the same platform it launched on. Persona 5 was on PS4. True. Persona 5 Royal is also on PS4. They didn't even wait the extra year and a half for the PS5 to come out. Like, I love Persona 5 Royal. I just don't, and it's better than Persona 5. Right? Like, it's better than Persona 5. Persona 5, as of the end of last year, was my number 1 game of all time. So theoretically, this game should be now like above that.
Your number 1 game of all time, yeah.
And it is. Like, Persona 5 Royal has replaced Persona 5 for me. So in my own personal rankings, it is number 1. However, I think that I don't know that we should judge this game the same way that I would have judged it last year when I played it for the first time. Like, I think I might give another game of the year over this, even though this has now replaced the original Persona 5 as my favorite game of all time.
I'm still going with it for this category.
I am too.
You want to go with Final Fantasy VII, don't you?
I'm going to go with Persona 5 Royal because that's in my gut what I want it to be. But I really think that Final Fantasy VII is gonna win it.
It's definitely between those two.
Yeah, for sure. I think 7's gonna win it. I feel it.
Then go with 7. We'll have a split vote on this one.
Fine, I'll do it. I'm not going to be upset either way.
I'm going to be so pissed. I'm going to be so pissed whenever you're right.
I win by 1 point this year because I got that one.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Final Fantasy VII. I mean, again, Persona 5 Royal, probably my favorite game of all time. But does it deserve to win Game of the Year this year because it essentially got a 10-hour DLC? Because if I'm judging it just off of that 10-hour DLC, it is not Game of the Year. Like if I'm trying to think, like Horizon Zero Dawn had a DLC. It had the Frozen Waste.
the Frozen. Was it Waste or Wilds?
Whichever, whatever. It's Forbidden West is the new one. I think it was Frozen Wilds.
That's right.
Yeah. If Frozen Wilds came out a year after the base game came out, I wouldn't then go and rate that game as being Game of the Year the next year, right?
Sure.
Persona 5 Royal is not that vastly different from Persona 5.
Yeah, it's because they didn't release it as DLC, they released it as a new game.
Right. So that's where I'm having a hard time with it. In that, like, this is my favorite game by far, but I don't think it deserves to win Game of the Year this year.
Yeah.
And I think the Final Fantasy VII Remake is such a fresh take on a series that's so beloved. And so I think that that's probably what's going to win.
That is valid and makes sense.
Next up is Best Action Adventure. So let me read the description on Action Adventure to explain how it's different from Best Action Game. Best Action Adventure is for the best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. So combat plus traversal and puzzle solving is apparently what an action adventure is. Today I learned. The nominees are Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Ghosts of Tsushima, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, getting that nomination a year later, and The Last of Us Part 2. For me, it's I think it's going to be The Last of Us Part 2. I think that The Last of Us Part 2, spoiler alert for the rest of this podcast, but I think that game is going to run away with most of these awards.
That's fair. I'm just focusing on the word traversal, which makes me want to go with Spider-Man. Because there's not many, it's such a breath of fresh air whenever a game is fun to just wander. Like there are probably 10 games I can think of in total where it was fun to not even play the story or the missions or whatever. It was just fun to dick around and go from place to place. And I haven't played it yet, but if it's anything like the traversal in Spider-Man 2, but just upgraded and brought into the modern age in terms of graphics and maybe even controls and gameplay, I think it deserves it on that.
Makes sense. Yeah, Spider-Man, the movement is so great. The web slinging.
How much puzzle solving is there in that game?
There's a bit. There are puzzles actually in the game, but I mean they're not difficult at all.
Sure. I just figured that based on combat and traversal alone,
yeah,
Spider-Man should get it.
That makes sense. I can go with that. Next up, I would actually say Ghost of Tsushima would be very similar to that too. There's not the web slinging aspect, so it's not as fast paced, but there's the grappling hook and a lot of cool stuff in that game that makes traversal pretty cool. And the puzzle in that game is the combat, because a lot of it is stealth based. So trying to figure out the best way to tackle forts and stuff, that's the puzzle part of that. So I think Ghost of Tsushima, for the same reason that Spider-Man would be a good choice, but yeah, I think Spider-Man is definitely up there for sure. So next up is Best Action Game. That is for the best game in the action genre focused primarily on combat. So none of this puzzle business, none of this traversal business. We're talking about
thinking.
Combat.
Head empty, smash.
Nominees are Doom Eternal, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, Neo 2, and Streets of Rage 4. I'm giving the nod to Hades. I think that game is so beloved right now. I think the Doom is probably my second choice, but Hades is just better than Doom. Doom Eternal was just a more Doom 2016.
Sure.
It didn't really, the gameplay felt fun to play, but it didn't do anything new. Hades is a lot. I think it deserves that title.
Convinced me. I was 50-50 on, again, Hades and Doom, because Doom is the definition of head empty, just do combat.
Yeah.
But if Hades is a roguelike, then it's kind of the same thing. I assume once you die, you reset. So the big game mechanic is going to be the combat.
Right.
So I'll go with Hades as well.
Next up is Innovation and Accessibility. Recognizing software and/or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience.
I wish that they said what these games did to earn the spot here, because I have no idea what they did.
Sure. I can say from experience what two of these games did, and I will. So the nominees are Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Grounded, Hyper Dot, The Last of Us Part 2, and Watch Dogs Legion. So I've obviously played The Last of Us Part 2. I've played Watch Dogs Legion. Watch Dogs Legion, I guess let me start with The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 is going to win this category, first of all.
All right.
For being an action-adventure game, it went so far above and beyond what any other triple A game specifically has done in the past. Do you remember playing Celeste? And Celeste had a pretty significant accessibility option in terms of difficulty. There was a lot of different button mapping things you could do. There was just a lot of accessibility options for Celeste, being a 2D side-scrolling platformer type game.
They even had that, like, it might have just been called assist mode, but like the thing that I think showed you the path that, like,
yeah, it did.
It made the most sense to take at the very least. I'm sure that there were others, but
The Last of Us Part 2 did that for AAA games. It took all of those assist options that were in Celeste, and it translated them into a AAA game. It had so many different options for deaf, hard of hearing. There were options for blind players. There was just so much thought that went into this. And back when I was in my The Last of Us Part 2 sort of like binging stage where I had completed the game, I then went back and like listened to all of the different podcasts that Neil Druckmann was on across the medium, and listen to him talk about this issue specifically was pretty exciting to hear. But with playing Watch Dogs Legion, you can tell what they just took directly from The Last of Us Part 2 and put it into Watch Dogs Legion. I think the reason The Last of Us Part 2 is going to win this category is because The Last of Us Part 2 is that was a major foundational change in games.
Yeah.
Because it was no longer up to indie studios to develop games for players that have accessibility problems. Now you have a AAA studio doing that in its flagship franchise, and they made it look easy. And so you have Ubisoft now doing it with two of these games, or Ubisoft games. I can't speak to what Grounded and Hyperdot did, but I assume that Valhalla did what Watch Dogs Legion did, which is just implement a lot of these base level features like screen reading. There's screen reading in these games now where that wasn't a thing before. That's just an option you turn on and there's a screen reader. Like, those are big things that have just not been in games until The Last of Us Part 2 did it this year.
Then by that definition, I'm going to also give it to The Last of Us Part 2 because, as the description says, it's recognizing software that is pushing the medium forward, and clearly The Last of Us Part 2 pushed the medium forward if two other games followed its footsteps. Yeah.
I don't think there's any question that Naughty Dog's taking this category. I guess, I can't speak to what Grounded and Hyperdot did, but there was such a huge conversation about The Last of Us in terms of accessibility when that came out. So I think that just by the definition of the category, exactly what you just said, this will be taken by The Last of Us.
Sounds good.
Next up is Best VR/AR Game. For the best game experience playable in virtual or augmented reality, irrespective of platform. We have Dreams from Media Molecule, Half-Life Alyx from Valve, Marvel's Iron Man VR from Camouflage, Star Wars Squadrons by Motive Studios, and The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners from Skydance Interactive.
So you have a PSVR?
No.
I'm assuming that you didn't experience any of these. You don't have a PSVR?
No. Nope.
Oh, I thought you did.
I've thought about it several times, but it's one of those things that I decided to actively not get because there's not that much that seems like a must-play game. And I haven't crossed the event horizon, basically. At this point, I'm waiting for the V2. I don't want to have wires because the PSVR has a lot of wires you have to deal with. I want the PSVR 2 that doesn't have wires. And then when I get that, I can come back and play a lot of these games because they aren't usually long. They're usually like 5 to 10 hour experiences.
Yeah.
And they're like literally there's probably 5 or 6 games that I'm interested in playing at this point, which is less than 100 hours of gameplay.
Yeah, that makes sense why you wouldn't invest then. I'm going to go with a pure gut instinct on this and go with Half-Life Alyx. I heard a lot of good things about it.
Same.
From people I know who have VR headsets. That was the one that they talked about the most.
I'm going with that as well. And the reason I am is, again, I've heard a lot of good things about it, but with the Game Awards specifically, I've seen a lot of discussion on Reddit about, like, this is Fire Emblem Three Houses for PC gamers.
Yes.
Like, if you are a predominantly PC gamer, you probably have, well, you might not have the index, but this is the game that you would be pissed off if it wasn't on Game of the Year, which it's not.
Yep.
And I've seen a lot of people pissed off about that. So that's sort of why I'm going with it. But I also don't know that these other games deserve it. Like, Dreams is amazing. And the fact that there's VR in it, like the idea that I, being someone who never studied game development, can turn on my PS4, mind you, and make a VR game is insane.
A little bit, yeah.
But Dreams isn't Half-Life, right? Marvel's Iron Man did not come out to critical. I mean, it did fine, but it's not like it was a 10 out of 10 game. Star Wars Squadrons is cool. You're in an X-wing, but again, not a 10 out of 10 game. And this Walking Dead thing, I'm sure is shit. It's probably on here just because it's titled The Walking Dead.
Yeah, and also every other category had like 5 titles, so
right,
got to round it out.
Yep. So I think Alyx is the only option there.
Yeah.
Next up is Best Community Support. Recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency, and responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity and game updates/patches. There are 6 categories, or 6 nominees here, which means there was a tie. The nominees are Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, Fortnite, No Man's Sky, and Valorant.
What are you thinking?
I'm going with Fall Guys.
That's absolutely what I'm going with too.
Social media presence by far is in Mediatronic's court. Like, they by far
100%.
won
They have that. They have that down.
But I mean,
I don't even play Fall Guys that much anymore, and like, I still follow the social media account because it's just fun.
I mean, the only other thing is, like, all of these other games, I feel like, have lost community. No Man's Sky, I guess, is sort of the odd one out there where they've actually gained community. But like with Apex Legends, with Destiny 2, with Fortnite, they've had stuff in the game where they've brought people back. But in terms of like interacting with the community, I think that they don't have. They don't. That's not part of their thing. Like that. I guess I see them in the best ongoing game category, not so much the community support. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Next up is Best Mobile Game. We have Among Us, Call of Duty Mobile, Genshin Impact, Legends of Runeterra, and Pokemon Cafe Mix.
I don't see how Among Us doesn't win this.
Really?
Personally.
Okay. I'm actually going Genshin Impact.
All right, fair.
Genshin Impact won iPhone Game of the Year this year. As of like a year, I think this morning actually it was announced for some other award ceremony.
So, and I doubt that you know this off the top of your head. Was Among Us even able to be on that, like?
Oh, I don't know.
List since it didn't come out this year?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Good point. I think for me on this one, it goes back to the quality of the game.
Yeah.
And
Among Us is basically a Flash game.
Sure. It's one of those things where you're like splitting hairs, right? Like, I mean, Among Us for me personally, I mean, I played Genshin Impact for all of 30 minutes before I had to turn it off. I don't think I actually ever talked about that on the podcast, but
You did not. I didn't know that you played it.
I did. I played it for 30 minutes until one of the main characters was just too fucking annoying and I had to turn the game off. I'm sorry if you like that game, but that Paimon character, I wanted to fucking kill myself. Paimon would not shut the fuck up. Yeah, Paimon was this little like fairy person that followed you around. I'm pretty sure I was hoping that at some point in the story Paimon was going to turn into the villain. I don't think that ever happened. But Paimon annoyed the fuck out of me after 30 minutes and I had to turn the game off. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, she looks annoying.
She talks about herself in the third person. She's like, Paimon's tired. Paimon wants to go to bed. Shut the fuck up, Paimon. I don't give a shit. Get the hell out of here.
Paimon just cost you the game this category.
But I recognize that this is a game that has earned fucking too much money and is completely playable on mobile, as well as it is on all the consoles and PC and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, from what I've seen of it in the awards that it's won so far, I think that it's probably gonna win this category. Though Among Us, I could see as well. But just to be a little bit different, I'll go Genshin.
Sure.
Next up is Best Indie Game. The category includes Carry On, Fall Guys, Hades, Spelunky 2, and Spiritfarer.
Oh, a lot of good games.
Yes. I am between three, honestly. I'm between Fall Guys, Hades, and Spiritfarer.
That's same here. Wow. Mostly because I don't really know that much about Carry On, and Spelunky 2, I know people were looking forward to it, but I don't think they were looking forward to it that much.
Well, the people that looked forward to Spelunky were really looking forward to Spelunky.
Yes, but there was not as many people.
Yeah, that is a small group of people.
It was a very vocal minority.
A vocal group of people, but a small group of people.
Yeah.
Personally, out of these three, I would definitely give it to Spiritfarer. However, Spiritfarer didn't review as well as I think it should have, critically. It scored well, don't get me wrong, but like,
yeah,
I feel like it deserves a higher score. If this game had come out last year, it would have been probably my game of the year. I'm going to give it to Hades.
Damn it, I was going to give it to Hades too. I'm still going to give it to Hades just because this has been the year that I experienced Supergiant games, and I now understand why people hold them in such high regard. So I'm going to give it to Hades.
Next up is Best Ongoing Game. We have Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky. I'm going to give it to No Man's Sky. That is a game that came out and was not at all what people wanted.
No, it wasn't.
But after fucking, how long has it been? 4 years, I think, since it's come out. It has completely turned around. And it is now like, not only is it playable, but it's what people were like hoping it was. Not what they were promised. Well, I don't know that it wasn't what they promised. I think what they got, or what people got originally, was what was promised. It just wasn't what people actually wanted, is the thing. Like, it was very underwhelming.
It was a case of people not knowing what they want.
Sure. Or it was a case of people doing what I think they're doing with Cyberpunk, though maybe not to the same extent, where they're thinking this is going to be something that's very different than what it might actually turn out to be. And like, there's no way that it could have lived up to the hype that it was building for itself, especially because No Man's Sky was an indie game, essentially. Hello Games was not a big studio when they started that.
Yeah.
And they've completely turned it around. Like, that game is well regarded now. They keep pushing new updates even now. The other games on there, like Apex, Destiny 2, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite. Fortnite just had that big event with all the Marvel stuff, and I understand that was well received, but like, I don't know. All those other games just like, they're nominated every year. This category is the same every single year.
Yeah. Was this the same list as last year for this category? Do you know?
It may have been. I don't remember if No Man's Sky was nominated last year or not.
I think it was, because I think you said the same exact thing where they completely turned it around and like fixed what was essentially the broken game that
Right.
they came out
I remember that. And I think that this year they even went further. Like it's just one of those things where they keep making it better and better and better. And it's not something that's like, it's not really a live service game like Fortnite or Destiny is. It's,
I'm personally gonna go with I'm gonna go with Apex just because I'm shocked that that game is still alive.
yeah.
Like in the with all the BR games that we have, with Fortnite leading all the rest, like it feels like a bunch of them have come and gone, but Apex has somehow managed to stay relevant. And actually, a friend of mine got back into it and said that like the stuff that they've updated and improved and some of the characters that they've introduced are a lot of fun to play. So I might not have played it, but I've heard good things from a personal friend. So I'm gonna give it to Apex.
I could.
That said, I still hated that stupid thing, that Christmas event that they made last year.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we're gonna get something like that again this year.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna be so mad.
I definitely can see Fortnite taking it though. You know what? I'm gonna change my vote. It's not gonna be No Man's Sky. It's gonna be Fortnite. I'm giving it to Fortnite.
Last year, the best ongoing games. You ready for this?
Yep.
A little bit of a difference. Last year it was Fortnite, which won, Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah, Rainbow Six isn't here anywhere.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So there's 2 whole new games.
I'm gonna give it to Fortnite. Now that I've thought about it. Off of that, the heels of that Galactus event, which I did not participate in, but I know so many people did.
Sure.
I'm
still sticking with Apex.
Next up is Games for Impact. For a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. The nominees are If Found from Dreamfeel, Kentucky Route Zero TV Edition from Cardboard Computer, Spiritfarer from Thunder Lotus Games, Tell Me Why from Don't Nod Entertainment, and Through the Darkest of Times from Paint Bucket Games. I'm going to give it to the one, or I guess I did play Kentucky Route Zero TV Edition. And again, I know that game reviewed very well. I played it and like at the end when the credits rolled, I had no idea what that game was about.
Yeah.
It went way over my head. I like to think that I'm not like the most artsy of people, but I understand art.
You can get it. You can understand it. Yeah.
I'm relatively educated, you know?
You're worldly, you're cultured.
That game just went it went places I could not follow. I'm going to give it to Spiritfarer because it's honestly one of the best games that I played this year. It would have probably won my game of the year last year had it come out last year when nothing else was out. And it has a really good message. It's a really beautiful, cute, interesting game where you meet eccentric individuals and you perform an extremely important task. So I'm going to give it to that.
I'm going to join you in Spiritfarer, mostly because I have not heard of any of these other games except for Kentucky Route Zero, which based on what you said, if it's that confusing, like, no. Plus it's just a re-release, but with on a console system, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Kentucky Route Zero came out like over years. Like it's basically 5 episodes and it came out like one episode every 2 years. Like I think the first one came out in like 2012. Tell Me Why is that game. It's the Don't Nod game. So it looks like not Stranger Things. What's that game? With the powers? Life is Strange. Life is Strange. Life is Strange. It looks like Life is Strange. It was in the Microsoft conference where they talked about Game Pass Forever. It's the one with I think that it's a brother and a sister. One of them's a transsexual. I think he's a transsexual man, and there was some mystery with
that now.
The mother, and there may have been a murder at some point or something, and they were trying
to. They were like, we can't blame ourselves or something. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that it came out and it was underwhelming, from what I heard. Though I understand why it would be in this category.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So next up is Best Performance, awarded to an individual for voice over acting, motion, and or performance capture. The awards go to Ashley Johnson as Ellie, Laura Bailey as Abby. Those are both from The Last of Us Part 2. Daisuke Tsuji as Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima. Logan Cunningham as Hades in the game Hades. And Naji Jeter as Miles Morales in Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. I thought that Naji did a great job as Miles. I really thought that he did such a fantastic job as Miles, actually. Daisuke was Jin was a great character, and Daisuke did a great job acting Jin. I don't think that either of those were neither of them blew me away though. Like, it was enough where I felt engaged with those characters and felt sucked into their worlds, but they didn't give me. I wouldn't call them the winner of that category, probably.
Sure.
Logan Cunningham as Hades is an interesting one. I played Hades for a while, and
I assume that Hades is the last boss, right?
Yeah. He is. He's also your father. I don't know that I would say that he's the best acted character in that game, though. That's the one thing that's underrated about Hades, honestly. It was my favorite thing about the game, was the acting. The voice acting was so good. And it was honestly the thing that kept making me play it, even though I didn't really want to play it anymore. I don't know that Hades would have been the character that I would have picked for the voice actor, but.
Sure.
So for me, it goes down to Ashley Johnson and Laura Bailey from The Last of Us Part 2. Both of them. That's
kind of what I was stuck between, just because I know that it's so vastly popular.
Both of them did such a great job. And I think that when you look at the category, awarded to an individual for voiceover acting, motion, and or performance capture. Sucker Punch had performance capture for Ghost of Tsushima, but you could tell that the facial recognition wasn't at the same level, anywhere near the same level as The Last of Us.
Yeah. I mean, just look at, if you go to the website, look at the photos of the characters.
Yeah. I thought that Miles, I think that I would definitely give it to Miles over I would give it to Naji over Daisuke as Miles. I think that just Ashley Johnson and Laura Bailey took that to another level. I think that their acting was true acting in every sense of the word. And again, when I went to that Last of Us Part 2 just binge, and I listened to every podcast that was available that Ashley and Laura went on, and all of the stories that they told about their experience acting in this game, it has to be one of them. I think I'm going to give it.
I'm taking the coward's way out and voting whatever one you don't vote for.
I want to give it to both of them, but I don't know which one I would give it to. Because I'm going to give it to Ashley for Ellie.
All right. I will go with Laura.
They're both so great.
One of us is probably going to be right.
Laura also has the burden of being the character that everybody hated. All the people that hated The Last of Us Part 2, she's the reason why.
Excellent. Underdog. Let's go.
I think that would put her maybe for me, that makes her sympathetic, right?
Okay.
Laura had to go through all this, so let's give her the award for it, you know?
Sure.
I don't know. I'm going to go with I'm sticking with it, Ashley.
All right. And I'm sticking with Laura.
Okay. Next up is Best Audio Design. This is going to be a long podcast. I don't really know how long we went because we took 15 minutes off there while my ISP shat the bed. Oh, look, we're dropping a bunch of frames again, or we did at some point.
Nice.
I'm gonna call WoW Internet tomorrow and I'm gonna Karen the hell out of them. I'm so fed up with this drop frames.
Listen, you gotta
bullshit.
do what you gotta do.
I'm so fed up with it. We're dropping. Ah, man. If it gets really bad, please let me know in the chat, and we're just gonna call the stream because I can't take this. I'm so upset with it. Best audio design, recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. The nominees are Doom Eternal, Half-Life Alyx, Ghost of Tsushima, Resident Evil 3, and The Last of Us Part 2. This is the one category I think The Last of Us won't win. I'm going to give it to Doom. Because of its soundtrack, I know that the soundtrack has a separate category. I think it does anyway.
Yeah, it does. I think the next one.
The sound effects of Doom are just so unique. Like the sound you make when you pull out a demon's eye is just like, that's the only place where you're ever going to hear that sound. So I'm going to give it to Doom.
I'm inclined to join you in that vote just because like all these other games are going to have pretty realistic sounds that like, Doom is going to be the one that has the most unique options for sound design.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they did it well.
If Doom doesn't take it, I think it will be The Last of Us. Based on like the technical side, I guess, of the audio. Yeah. Like this, not just the sounds that the zombie creatures make, but also like the directionality of that sound and the way that sound plays off of certain things. There are also a lot of set pieces in that game that have really distinct sounds, like environment sounds and that kind of thing. I guess I'm giving it to Doom just because it's outside of the box, I guess. Yeah. Like The Last of Us is very visceral and very real, but Doom is just ridiculous and fantastical. So I'm going to give it to that.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Next up is Best Score and Music. We have Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Hades, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and The Last of Us Part 2. Who you got?
I know what I want it to be, and I think I'm going to go with it. Again, just trying to will it to happen, even though I don't really think it will. But I'm going to go with Ori. Because that game, whenever you played it, the music made you feel so many things. And I absolutely love that game soundtrack. That's one of those games that I would, and probably should, because I'm sure it's available since it's not, a Nintendo game. I should go and get the soundtrack because I'm sure it's available. Because that is a soundtrack that I would listen to just in everyday life.
I am going to give it to Final Fantasy VII Remake. Final Fantasy VII already had a beloved soundtrack, and they took that and put an orchestra behind it. Like, they replaced MIDI music with an orchestra, and it's so powerful. It's such a great score. Just from not necessarily the music perspective, I guess it is all music, but like the scoring of that game is so great. I think that I liked the way that they used music better in The Last of Us Part 2. There's like music is a big part of that game in a different way. Not so much the score, but like the actual way they use music as a mechanic in that game is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the Final Fantasy VII Remake, the score is so great.
Yeah.
I actually
very well recognizable, and if you take something that's beloved and make it better and not ruin it, then that's one, a very difficult thing to do, and two, you deserve high praise for it.
Sure. I think it's the same dude too. Composed by, I think, Nobuo Uematsu. I don't know that much about Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy like historically, but I think he's the main composer, and he's been around for 25 years at this point.
Yeah.
Next up is Best Art Direction. We have Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and The Last of Us Part 2.
I know what I'm going to go with.
This is a legitimately tough category.
Yeah, for sure.
Because all 5 of these games go for different art styles completely.
Yeah.
Like,
which is good. It's nice to not see like 4 games that just went for hyper realistic dark,
right.
and then one like maybe not cartoony, but like more a different art style.
Sure. You have The Last of Us Part 2, which did go for that hyper realistic look.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't know that there's ever going to be a studio that can match what Naughty Dog does when it comes to hyper realistic games. At least not in the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
But then The Last of Us also has that additional layer of fantasy when it comes to like the zombie creatures, and a lot of that art is interesting. Like the zombies in The Last of Us are not just Walking Dead zombies, they're something specific. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is obviously its own art style that's very beautiful, and I think the main draw of that game is a lot of the art style.
Definitely.
Hades.
However, I would like to point out that like even on their own console, there were frame rate issues.
Yeah, that's true.
Which kind of not took away from it, but at least made you mad.
Sure. Hades is its own art style, obviously. Very unique there. Ghost of Tsushima is the interesting one, I think. It's the most interesting one because it took a realistic idea. But as I mentioned when I played this game earlier in the year, it added so much art on top of that. Like the way the environment functioned, it felt like you were in a painting a lot of the time. The ways that like you would see leaves falling off trees, and the way that the wind whipped across the landscape, and like the rain and the snow, depending on the environment you were in. A lot of times it felt like you were in a painting. You were in a Hokusai painting. Only in a video game setting. So I think that's really interesting. And the Final Fantasy VII, it again takes that thing where like you take what is essentially a 64-bit character model and you turn it into a fully realized like live action thing, a live action-esque thing, and you add in all of the sci-fi elements that are on top of it, and it's its own thing. This is probably the most competitive category that I've seen. I'm gonna give it I don't know.
If it helps, I don't know how it would, but I am, based on how you were describing it when you were playing it, I'm going with Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay. I am. It's really I'll close my eyes and point at one.
Just throw a dart, roll a dice.
Yeah, because like I can't even say like there's no reasoning I can even like come up with in my mind. Like I think the voters are gonna go this way.
None of them are better than the other because they all do something differently, but they do that different thing to the best standard possible.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Hades. Just that's kind of a shot in the dark. I'm very much in the dark. I like all of them for different reasons. Yeah, I'll go with Hades though. Next up is Best Narrative. 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and The Last of Us Part 2.
I get this feeling that The Last of Us Part 2 is going to take this category easily.
I do too. I'm both upset about it and also not upset about it. I'm upset about it because this is the only category that 13 Sentinels is nominated for.
Yeah.
And I really want 13 Sentinels to walk away with something, but it's definitely not going to beat The Last of Us.
Not a narrative, no.
That's the thing, is like what The Last of Us has a lot of stuff, but the narrative drives all of it.
Yeah. You played it for the story. That's how The Last of Us 1, I feel, was sold by a lot of people to me.
Yeah. And it's like, I want 13, because the narrative in 13 Sentinels is so fucking great. And it's cool because I guess actually The Last of Us did this too, but because the story is so out of sync, there are elements of that in The Last of Us Part 2. It adds so much to it.
Yeah.
It's such a unique way to have a narrative game set up. I think that 13 Sentinels does it better actually than The Last of Us does when it comes to that I guess it's non-linear storytelling, right?
Non-chronological?
Non-chronological, I guess. All right, if you're watching the stream, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut it off. I don't know why you would still be watching because we're just hemorrhaging frames. But I'm cutting the stream off if you're still watching. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to Karen WoW tomorrow and hopefully not have this issue going forward. But thank you for tuning in. We are going to continue the podcast off air. If you want to listen to the whole thing, go get us on any of your favorite podcast services. Have a good night, everyone. And now back to all of you audio listeners. I'm going with The Last of Us Part 2, but I really would. I really wish 13 Sentinels was nominated for something else.
You hate to see it.
Next up is Best Game Direction. We have Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, and The Last of Us Part 2. This is awarded, by the way, for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. Easy for me, Last of Us. Again, Neil Druckmann is the visionary behind all of this. And when you listen to his vision for the game, when you listen to the role that specifically Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson had in creating a lot of this, it's on another level for me.
Oh, I want to just blindly agree with you because you know best at this point. But that's no fun. So oh God. Innovation. Which of these games was innovative the most? Really don't know. I'm just gonna go with Hades.
That's fair.
I think Hades should run away with one of the top awards. And I don't think it's gonna win Game of the Year. So I think it should get this one.
Makes sense. Okay, last category. We got the big one. Game of the Year.
GOTY.
The nominees for Game of the Year are Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and The Last of Us Part 2. For me, it will be The Last of Us Part 2.
That's what my gut says. But I am going to go Agent of Chaos mode. And due to the extenuating circumstances that was the year 2020, and seeing how it got a lot of people through a global pandemic, just from a social standpoint, I am giving it to Animal Crossing.
Nice.
I feel like I'm placing a losing bet, but I mean, whenever we were at our darkest point in this pandemic and just the world was going to hell, there was one little beacon of happiness and light for a lot of people, and that was Animal Crossing. Was it the best game? No, definitely not. Was it exactly what we needed for months at a time? 100%. It gave us back a semblance of routine that so many people need to just basically function. Because you would turn on the game and be like, okay, it's a new day. And I know it's a new day because of what's happening in Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
I don't know what day of the week it is anymore in real life because just the world's gone to shit. But
yep. Okay.
So it's down to the experience for me, but taking into account the real world experience too.
Sure. So we have gone far beyond our normal time. But to wrap up, we have one last thing we need to talk about, and that is predictions for the Game Awards. We have given you all of our predictions for the Game Awards categories. However, a big part of the Game Awards are the little announcements that they sprinkle throughout the presentation. So we are each going to give you 3 announcement predictions rather, for what we think is going to be shown at the show. I wanted the predictions to be a little more in depth
or detailed.
Well, not like just surface level predictions, but just a little more detail. So we'll alternate back and forth. I have 3, John has 3. Let's get started. The first one is like my gimme one. I think that this is a shoe-in. I think that each of the major players are going to be I think there's going to be at least one a PlayStation announcement, one Microsoft announcement, one Nintendo announcement. That's not how I went about it. I didn't give one for each, but I think that with the PlayStation announcement, there's only one game that really makes sense, and that is Horizon Forbidden West. The next game due out from PlayStation is Ratchet and Clank, but I think we've seen enough of that game now that we don't need to see any more of it. I think that Horizon is the next thing they need to show. So I think that we're going to get a new Horizon Forbidden West trailer, and it will come with a spring 2021 release date.
Alrighty. Well, I will then tackle one of the other major players. I really did think that we were going to get, and maybe if we weren't in a pandemic, we would have gotten at E3 this year, a Breath of the Wild 2 trailer with a holiday release this year. Seeing as we didn't, and there's a lot of evidence pointing to the fact that Nintendo is behind by about 6 months, I'm going to say that because they missed out on E3, they are going to put out their full Breath of the Wild 2 trailer at the Game Awards and give it a spring 2021 release, just like it kind of had for the original Breath of the Wild. Kind of match it up, but 4 years later?
4.
So I think if it shares the same world, I think even with being in a pandemic, I think it's possible for that game to come out in 2021 in the springtime.
Checks out.
Especially because next year's the 30th anniversary of Legend of Zelda? No. 35th. Because I think it came out in 86,
That sounds right, yeah. Next one for me is a little game called Starfield. I think that Bethesda has been quiet. The last time the only stuff that we got from Bethesda this year, outside of Doom Eternal, were trailers for games that are coming out exclusively to PlayStation 5 for a set amount of time. We got Ghost, what's that called? Tokyo Ghost, or that Ghost game that's about the jet with Ikumi Nakamura before she left it, where she went like this. That whatever that game is, Ghostwire Tokyo. That's what it is. Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop are both PS5 exclusive games for some set amount of time, and that's the only stuff that we've gotten from Bethesda this year, really, at those PlayStation announcements. I think that Bethesda Game Studios is going to show something this year. I don't think it's going to be Elder Scrolls, but I think it will be Starfield. We're not going to get a trailer, but all we've gotten of Starfield so far is a title card that says Starfield on it. We got the Breath of the Wild, or not the Breath of the Wild, the Pokemon Sword and Shield title card treatment, or the Metroid Prime 4 title card treatment for Starfield. So I think that we'll get a Starfield teaser that gives us some idea of what the gameplay looks like. We will not get anything that even resembles a release date.
Fair. My next one is, and I'm trying to make myself feel smarter for putting this as a prediction, even though this was not part of my original train of thought. Seeing as they want to have a more global presence with this award show this year, and not just be US centric. They did mention that, right? That they were going to be all over the place.
Yep.
I am, and again, this is probably just me willing something into existence, but we have not heard anything in so long. So I really hope that we get Silksong news. Specifically, I hope that we get a release date, again, matching up with the original release date of Hollow Knight for February. because it's a small team
Yeah.
and it's an indie game,
Mm-hmm.
and we haven't heard from them in so long. And like, they can take as much time as they want, but this would be the perfect time for them to just kind of come out of the blue and be like, hey, our game out in 2 months. We've been silent because we've been working on it. So, especially because they're an Australian team. Like,
Right.
if the Game Awards wants to get this global presence, what better way than to highlight an indie studio in Australia?
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't heard from that game in a long time, too.
Yeah, a little bit.
My last one is the one that I am most out on the limb on. I have no evidence to back this up, but based on how far in advance we saw the first trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake, I think that we will get a trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 shown at this thing. I don't think there will be a formal release date given, but I think that we'll get some kind of a sense that the game is it's closer than we think it is. We got Final Fantasy VII Remake. We got the first trailer at PSX. I think it was PSX 2017, maybe. And then this game came out 3 years later. And that first trailer that we got 3 years in advance of the game was pretty long. It was like a long, built-out trailer. So I think we'll get something similar similar to that. And I don't think it's going to take 3 years for the next game to come out. I think it'll be shorter than that. So that's my last prediction for the Game Awards.
Alrighty. My last prediction is kind of the vaguest, I think. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just being a little too hard on this one. Again, going back to the desire to make that global presence, I'm guessing that they will also have an appearance by Extremely OK Games, formerly known as, I think, Matt Makes Games, aka the people who made Celeste. And I foresee that appearance resulting in they haven't announced a new game that they're working on, right?
I don't think so.
So I think that this is where they're going to announce a brand new title that they're working on. And I even went to their website and it lists like the 2 games that they've made, and then it's got like a placeholder with a big question mark, and it says like something coming soon. So I really think that they're going to have some involvement, seeing as they won awards for Games for Impact, right?
Yeah. I want to say
So
Celeste I think they won a couple things.
I think they won maybe Indie Game of the Year too. They won a couple awards. So I think that it's been long enough. They've had time. They probably have a new game, at least enough to like reveal some info on.
Yeah.
So they'll be one of the other global highlights with a brand new title, but really probably nothing in regards to a release date.
Makes sense.
Considering we don't even know what this game is.
Sure. Okay, those are our predictions. John, can you type those into the show doc when you get a chance?
I certainly will.
We will. Thank you. Sorry. We will see you all next week for the Game Awards. I am hopefully going to get an answer on this whole streaming thing tomorrow. I'm going to call WoW and tell them something's fucked up where every night I'm having issues with my speed. My upload speed specifically. It's never my download speed. It's just my upload speed. So hopefully that gets resolved and we can do this next week where we will co-stream the Game Awards. We hope to see you in the chat that night. And then we'll be off and running. I do have sort of the entire schedule for the rest of the year built out. I was going to go through that tonight, but with just the way things are and how long we've been podcasting, I'm going to put that off. So we will be back with the next regularly scheduled podcast. Won't be until the week after next week, which is Thursday night, the 17th. So next week, no regular podcast. We will be co-streaming the Game Awards on Thursday the 10th at the normal. Well, I guess we'll actually start at 7 for that. We are also planning on starting our Let's Play series on Tuesday. We actually tried to do it 2 days ago Tuesday, but I had internet issues, so we couldn't do it. As long as these get resolved, next Tuesday the 8th will be the first episode of our Persona 4 Golden Let's Play series, so tune in for that. And I think that's about it. Did I miss anything there?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
Sounds like everything.
Well, thank you for tuning in for this very long episode. Truth be told, I have no idea how long we actually podcasted because we took so many. The break there in the middle kind of screwed everything up. So thank you for hanging in there with us. We appreciate you very much. And we look forward to seeing you all again.
Peace out.